Hello ladies and gentlemen, Willie here. Well, I was going to have this video out tomorrow and it was going to be discussing the leaks that we'd seen very recently about a potential launch date until I opened Discord and I see a lot of messages and the launch date for TBC as well as the pre-patch have been confirmed. Similar to what we had seen with the previous leaks, Burning Crusade pre-patch will begin on May 18th. The launch date for Burning Crusade Classic will be the 1st of June. This is not a drill. Those are confirmed dates. This does mean our pre-patch will be 2 weeks long, which honestly is kind of disappointing that it's that short. I think a lot of people, myself included, were hoping for a pre-patch that could air on a bit longer than they usually are for Blizzard games, but that's not going to be the case, so that is a relatively short period of time to level up your Draenei and Blood Elves to level cap and get them ready to go through the Dark Portal, because of course you can't boost them, and that's even considering the leveling changes which are going to speed things up quite significantly. Blizzard have also confirmed the paid character boost will be $40. They've also revealed the cost of copying your character to the Classic Era realm whilst also keeping them on the TBC servers will be $35. There is a deluxe edition of TBC which does include the phase stalker mount that was data mined a while ago, a Dark Portal Hearthstone which will give some different kind of animation. I can see it doing some kind of Death's Gate type effect, but I haven't seen it yet, and the Path of Illidan toy which will leave some green fire beneath your character's feet for a short period of time. Apart from that, pretty much everything that's been data mined or leaked has ended up being true for Burning Crusade Classic, and as of today we are less than 2 weeks from the pre-patch. So now is the time to really get on the preparation for it. Moving on though, as we know from a few days back, drums of battle have been nerfed. The thing so many people, myself included, have been asking to be put into the game. The change has made it so after you use drums of battle, or any drum for that matter, your party will have a 2-minute debuff called Tinnitus, which will prevent benefiting from another set of drums. So this changes the amount of drummers you need per raid down from 20 to 5. And it's not unreasonable to have one person per group who would actually like to be leatherworking for other reasons than drums, such as getting armor pieces. And whilst that does free up a potential 15 people in your raid to pick a different profession, likely enchanting, that is not as big of a benefit as 5% permanent haste would have been for the entire raid encounter. So it's actually a very small little buff to the difficulty of raids in TBC. This particular change was one the community had been pushing and one that was briefly explored during the Wrath pre-patch, and it appears on Wowhead with comments from 2.43 backing its existence back then. So similar to other things, Blizzard has really taken the latest version of the drum and implemented that now, which is good, I think. Of course, drums on launch will still have an 8-yard range with a 0.5 second cast time, and then they will change in the Zulaman patch, which should be phase 4, to have a 40-yard range and not need any cast time. Overall though, another positive change where Blizzard has listened to the player feedback. In fact, they've hit the big 3 of my concerns now: the open world buffs working in raids from dungeons, profession swapping between dual crafting and enchanting, and the existence of drums. So I think we're looking in a really good spot at the moment. We went back and retested Karazhan after the drum changes and Blizzard implementing some new mechanics to various fights. This time around we went in with an exceptionally strong comp with 3 locks of Boomy and Elemental, Shadow Priest, Pro Warrior and Paladin, Holy Priest and Resto Druid. In fact, you would be hard pressed to make a much better comp for the raid. For the most part, it still felt pretty easy. Some of the trash mobs were still the most dangerous NPCs in the instance. You were still able to shackle the skeletal ushers before the Opera Room, which was a nerf made in 2.1. We got Big Bad Wolf again, which is simple enough. Curator only ever spawned 1 spark, and the Troll Village was there. I had to beta test that, of course. We absolutely didn't wipe on chests. In fact, it was a totally clean run, and the door strat worked just fine on Prince as expected. Nether Spite was a little tight with 2 healers due to the AoE nature of the encounter, but we managed to get it down. And then we got to Nightbane. Nightbane with the skeletons had immolation and could only be damaged by physical or holy attacks. He also hits like an absolute truck. I didn't manage to get much footage of it as people had to go off by this point in time, but he was easily the hardest encounter in the instance. If it were live like this, you would either need a few hunters in your raid or to go and farm holy water from strat, as well as a protection paladin feeling basically mandatory for the encounter. Blizzard should have the stats of how few clears there were of this boss, and I'm expecting there to be very few. The thing about keeping it hard is, on one hand, it's an optional boss, but on the other hand, it's part of attunement, so it's kind of not optional actually. I'd expect them to tone it down a little, probably removing the spell immunity from the skeletons, which can absolutely block your comp from progress. Either way, with Crusade, I was overall happy with it. It wasn't the hardest raid in the world, but it never has been either. As long as they can get it pre-nerf and working, I'm happy. Also, I played Demonology with Felguard, and it actually kept up overall and was surprisingly good, even though we are at very low gear levels, but I had fun with it. Finally, a huge blue post regarding PvP was put out yesterday. Mounts from PvP vendors have been confirmed from Phase 1, this was kind of expected. The 70 blue Honor armor sets and weapons are also available in Phase 1, as well as the jewelry and gems as shown here. Some decent starting PvP gear from Battlegrounds basically. Battlegrounds and Honor are spammable and will be able to be spent as you earn them, whilst arena points are gained on the weekly reset. So it should be good for some early game resilience. A new rank 1 title has been added for Season 1, the Infernal Gladiator, and the bracket cutoffs have been announced for these titles as well as seen here. We do have enormously larger battle groups than you would have seen back in the day. For Western realms at least, in North America you have Oceanic and East and West, and in Europe we have Europe. All of them are just bundled together, but there's going to be an enormous amount of competition for these top slots, and very few people ever seeing them. Maybe we'll even see pool boosting for rank 1 slots. Now that is something I haven't thought about until now. Blizzard also mentioned we're updating the matchmaking rating system to use a calculation design developed after original Burning Crusade, and the MMR range will be similar to the range seen in PvP in 2008. Teams will start at 0 rating instead of 1500. Throughout the whole duration of TBC, your team did start at 1500, so this is another big change. The Cyclones in the Ring of Trails are back, at least for Season 1. They were removed in 2.1 originally, which will be our Phase 3 patch, and remove the Cyclone that would appear 1 minute into the fight and randomly spin to players, slowing and damaging them. I barely remembered that this was a thing back in the day, and I don't see people looking back too favourably on it either. You know, maybe if it didn't damage or slow you, you could use it tactically to close gaps, or it'd be like having the Wrath version of Disengage one expansion early on a Hunter. But we'll see how the feedback goes for this. I don't think it's going to be overly positive. And I was going to put out this video yesterday, but Blizzard went and updated some of the text they had on the original blue post. Because when I read the original one, and I know a lot of other people read it like this, it made it sound as though you needed to maintain an actual rating in order to continually equip a PvP item. That isn't correct. When you get a certain rating, you buy the item and you have the item forever. You can use it whenever. It works exactly how ranking does in Classic. They've clarified you'll need at least 50 games in order to qualify for seasonal rewards. I'm assuming these are the titles and rank 1 rewards. There'll be no rating requirements at all to purchase arena gear from a previous season. So whenever Season 2, the Merciless season, comes out, you'll be able to get the original Gladiator gear. However, in Season 1, as we'll see in a moment, there will be rating restrictions that apply, and you'll have to start off getting the blue quality High Warlord or Grand Marshal gear from Battlegrounds that we went over earlier. So there will still very much be a casual scene for Arena, but it'll always be one gear set behind. Saying that, in order to get the head, chest and legs, you only need 1700 rating, which even starting at 0 still shouldn't be that bad if they're trying to base the MMRs off how they were back in the day. And finally, they've said the commentator UI for Wargames has been updated with a fresh new look, which I read as we're going to try and make TBC Arena and eSport. They already do it with retail. I'd be very surprised if they don't try and do it here as well. And finally, oh boy, here we go. The No Changes crowd patiently have been sharpening their pitchforks and waiting to say I told you so. Here's your chance to make an appearance. I can't wait to read the comments on this one. Unlike the rest of the changes we've already talked about, which are all good by the way, those don't count. But then again, you do remember when Blizzard were going to remove the deleted characters from the PvP pool in Classic, and they ended up not doing that after all because there's just sort of no saving the ranking system. It would be crazy to imagine World of Warcraft fans overreacting to something like this, so let's talk about what they're changing and the implications it would have. All PvP gear will have a consistent personal rating requirement to purchase: shoulders 2200, weapon 2050, head 1700, chest 1600, legs 1550. This is the Season 4 way PvP gearing worked. In Season 3 it only applied to weapon, which was 1850, and the shoulders that were 2k. In Season 2 and 1, Arena gear had no rating requirement to wear at all. So the play 10 games to get armor piece in early seasons is dead on arrival in TBC. Hands up if you had a main, or perhaps even your alt, where you're going to do some Arena for points to get a weapon and now you're just not going to do any Arena at all. Or as a more casual player, how hard will it be to go from 0 rating even to 2050 for a weapon? Did they do this to kill boosting at all? Well, I hope not, because it doesn't. Each Arena 2s, 3s and 5s have their own rating. You could get boosted to 2200 in 5s by 4 PvP gods, and then just play your 10 games a week in 2s and 3s to farm points and gradually buy your PvP gear over time. Arena rating doesn't decay after all. You could repeat this each season and farm people in 2s or 3s at 1500 whilst you have a full set of PvP gear. As long as you don't play another 5s game and drop below 2200, you have access to all the gear as long as you can buy it. Depends how many points Blizzard give out for starting at 0 compared to 1500 though. It might just be totally unviable to AFK farm 10 games even if boosted in another bracket. So who's affected then? Well, not really the hardcore PvPers at all. This is kind of a non-issue for them. I'm expecting rating to be mega inflated by later game in each season due to how enormous our battle groups are. It's going to be the more casual crowd who will be affected, especially those who wanted to spam some arena just to get some early game gearing, where the PvE options would have been much more RNG. The PvP gear gives some kind of certain deadline by which point in time you will get that item. Those are just some thoughts on it from myself from reading the original patch notes though. You'll have to let me know what you think and what other implications this could have in the long run. That's it though. As always guys, thank you so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you all in the next one very soon.